Hey everybody, welcome back to the Slypatch Podcast. I'm Digital Chimera, you can call me Spencer.
And I'm Captain Bean, you can call me Tyler.
And it's time to
Ready up.
It has been a while, Tyler, and that's largely because, finals at school had me a little busy, but, scheduling conflicts and this and that and the other thing, but we're back.
We had finals, we had MGC and CypherCon,
There's so much going on, so much to catch you guys up on, and we're glad to have you back.
Absolutely.
What's been up, man? Let's start off with our warm-ups, get into the swing of things.
I wasn't sure how to do this thing anymore. No.
I've forgotten.
Yeah. Warm potatoes? No, I'm just kidding.
That's later.
Hey, warm potatoes are awesome.
Warm potatoes are pretty good.
No, man. So, even though we haven't been on here together and stuff, me and Spencer, we see each other, every week, and so we kind of know what's going on with each other. But to inform you guys, let you guys know, we have been super busy over at Slypatch. My week's warm up is gonna go back to again. I'm usually gonna talk about the store. It's just. It's boring sometimes. Sorry, guys.
As long as it's good stuff, it's good stuff,
So, and we'll get into it in the meat and potatoes, but had a fantastic MGC. Fantastic. We'll talk details about that here in a minute. We have recently updated our store, made it to where we have more capacity, and actually made the tables more comfortable. So we went from 8-foot tables where we were trying to fit 8 people, at 8-foot tables, to now we have 2 6-footers, so that's 12-foot long tables. For 3 out of the 5 tables now. We went from a total of 4 tables to 5 tables. So we went from the max capacity, where it was before, it was, only 32, and then we had the side table we could pull out sometimes. And now we have 40 seats at all times, but we can also add more seats, like for pre-releases and stuff like that. At the 12-footers, we can easily add 2 more chairs per table. So, we're getting to the point where we're around 50 people, which is, it's awesome, especially for the space that we have.
Yeah, and being a player at the store, because in case you've forgotten or didn't know, I don't actually work with Tyler at the store. We're just best friends.
Yeah.
And being a player at the store, having the longer tables and having the space as a bigger human being has been awesome. It was so much more comfortable. Yesterday when we played, and it was great.
It was great feedback from everybody. Yeah, everybody was like, "Man, this is awesome. This is so much better." You're not actually the old saying, rubbing elbows with people. You don't want to actually be rubbing elbows while you're playing Magic. It's not that comfortable. Then we also updated the retail space. So the case, we turned that around to open up for more space for those tables. Kind of minimize that down a little bit, but also made it, a lot more streamlined, better for you guys. We have now what's our high-end case, for example, on the end. We moved our dollar rares up to the counter, and we did that for a couple of reasons. For those who maybe didn't see my video on Facebook, we moved those up there to kind of direct the herd to where the actual register is, because so many people were trying to pay on that side of the counter, And it's like, well, our credit card machine's over here, bud. You got to, come over here. The other thing is we get to have conversations with people now as they're looking through our dollar box. They're like, hey, man, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? What kind of deck are you trying to build? What, kind of thing. And so I get to give people ideas and maybe talk about other cards that are in the case, or even other cards that might be in that dollar box that they might have overlooked because they didn't think of that card. And
then even further, if you're not super busy and they're looking for a specific card, you can just be like, yeah, sure, I'll grab half the reds and we'll look for that blasphemous act for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to have that kind of actual social interaction with our players as they're doing that. It was a blast last night. It was awesome. I felt so much more connected to the player base last night, and not to say that I'm not connected to you guys anyway, but last night, just all those different conversations that I got to have up at the counter that usually I'm just sitting behind the counter, people at the table, they're playing their games, and then
there's people all off in the other side of the store
looking at the dollars, right? And it's like now we actually get to bring that up there, so that's super awesome. Super excited for the changes we have at the store, and then we also have I had a conversation today with so in Watertown, which is a little bit further away from us, it's about 45 minutes away. But you know how we're always trying to expand the community, help the community, things like that. So in Watertown, there's a new store that's opened up. It's called Mobetta Games. They're brand new. They just opened up in April. Like they've literally been open for like a month now. But they're really trying to get into, everything. They have a huge place. Their play space is like 4 times the size of ours. It's like 6,000 square feet. So like they're I mean, the entire store. It was an old restaurant that they're turning into a game store.
That's
so
cool.
There's actually like a bar in the middle of it, and for their counter space and stuff. It's awesome. Like, and so I got the pleasure of meeting Mo and KK today, and amazing people. We're going to be doing a lot of things with them, but also if you're near that side of town and stuff like that, go check those guys out because they're really trying to get there. Now fair warning again, they've only been open for a month, so just like we had the problem with distribution to start, and that's one of the reasons why they came to us, because we're going to try to help them out from a distribution standpoint. They may not have a lot of product and things that you're looking for right now, but we're going to work on that. We're going to get that there for them. It's more about check it out, see the play space, get to know the community there too, help grow and expand that community, because it's 45 minutes away, but we have people like Sherilyn who drives from Palmyra, Palmyra, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
She's like an hour away from the store, and she comes every week.
My buddy Brock and one of his friends, he brought another friend last night. They live down in Racine.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
they're like 30 minutes from
that's
them.
the great thing about it. And it's
Watertown's actually closer to them than we are, probably.
Yeah, and that's what we love though about our community, right? Is we love so much about our community that it is we can pull from that kind of distance, but we also have the people local, and that just goes to prove, because I guarantee you, if you went to almost every other game store in town last night, there was people there playing. So it's like it's not like we're diluting anybody or taking away from anybody. We're just growing our player base completely, and it makes it to where like we love the fact that we pack out the house. But if you are driving from somewhere like that, that store's going to be closer to you on a Friday night, and we can build the same type of community there. It's not going to hurt our feelings that you're going a little bit closer, and also making it to where someone maybe local can have that seat, that type of thing. So we want to build a community to that point where everybody's packing the house, and nobody feels like they're turned away, and nobody feels like they're having a bad experience, from that standpoint. So,
and there's one of the other things that it makes me think of is just like there are plenty of like a lot of people tend to like go to the same store.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way to say this. But you can also like go to Slypatch one Friday and then go down to Watertown for the next, and then go to Citadel or you can change it up if you want to. So
Battle Brothers, that's the thing, and we've had that philosophy since day one. Is we don't see the other people who have game stores as competitors. There's no point in it. We see them as part of our community as well, and trying to grow the community and making it a great place for everybody.
And to tell you what, as a player and as part of that community, that's the best thing that I can see from a game store owner. Is when they can just coexist and be friends and just help out.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like, who wants to go into someone's game store and be like, oh, you played over there this weekend, or on this day or whatever, oh, I'm not going to name any names, but there's people from my past that I know will be like, oh, you bought that card there, why didn't you buy it from me? It's like, dude, I wasn't here at that time, and I wanted the card that day because I was playing like, why do I got to give you my backstory and reason for why I bought my card where I did, like, obviously there's a reason why, but it's not in your business what the reason is. I chose it's my life, my money. I get to do what I want with it. Like, but there are store owners and people that do that, and I don't believe it. I don't think that that's fair, you know.
I tell you what, if I fortunately haven't had that experience from a game store owner or an employee, but I tell you, if I did, I would never come back.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, because that is just the most awkward and like uncomfortable type of situation. It's like, like questioning loyalty. Like, like for example, we got really good friends at the Paper Player Podcast. Tony and Jeff. And I was joking around with Jeff, the other day, but like I didn't, it was no actual meaning of it. It was just like because they're doing an event out at Games Universe. That is sponsored by their podcast and stuff like that. Can't remember what format it is. I'm sorry, guys. I know we're doing the pre-modern here on the 28th with us, but there's a thing that they're doing out there. But they specifically, and I love it about them, is like they try not to mention game store names on their podcast or anything like that because they don't want to make it actually seem like they're favorites to anybody, right? And that's fine. But I was giving Jeff crap. I was, oh, you're going to go to Games Universe for that? You know, well, why didn't you come to my store? You know, like, well, I was like trying to be sarcastic.
But it's also,
but it was through text. Here's the thing, it was through text, and I realized afterwards, I was like,
The sarcasm is so hard
it's so
to
hard,
convey.
right? Yeah.
Literally the best way is the slash
The
S.
slash S.
That is literally...
But then some people don't even know what that means either.
Some people also just don't know what that means.
But I ended up having a conversation with Tony later, who's also part of that podcast, and I was like, look, man, you know, I haven't talked to Jeff in a couple of days. Like, let him know I was just kidding. Like, it was just me being trying to be funny. But yeah, man, it's all about building community. So yeah, like that's the thing. Is like we bring up all the other stores' names. You know, like this is my store's podcast, okay? Like this is Slypatch Podcast. I'm not afraid to talk about Games Universe. I'll give you a great example. We had a great experience last Sunday. We went down and did a cube draft with our new friend Taylor. Taylor, I'm sorry, I'm horrible with last names, but Taylor has this awesome vintage cube. Like it's like card for card the vintage cube on MTGO.
Oh wow!
And so we all got to draft that, and I lost in the finals to Shark. Also, most people know him as Shark. Although, in game one of that finals, I got to turn 2 Channel and Ulamog, and he was just like, "Yeah, we're going to game 2." But he had a very sick black white like Hate Bears like discard deck, and so he destroyed me games 2 and 3. But I did at least get to like live the dream because I was drafting the big green deck, and like I drafted Channel early, and I was just like, you know, turn 2 Channel Ulamog, and he's just like. Yeah, you know. So I lost in the finals. It was great, but Shark, you were great, man. Taylor, your cube's awesome. Speaking of that, you know, we're going to be actually hosting his cube and others here coming up soon. So we'll talk more about that, you know, for our stuff at the store later. But yeah, there's so much going on. I mean, I can sit here and talk about the warm up stuff for as long as the podcast because it's been so long since we've been here.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about your warm up.
Well, my warm up is just I'm going to be a little vague with it, but you know, I've been making a lot of positive changes, as you all know, and people who know me more personally will know kind of what those changes are. But you know, I'm making a lot of positive changes, and you know, today I did some positive affirmations in the mirror when I woke up, which felt really good, and I got to go walk around at Greenfield Park with my aunt, and that was a good time. Just got to get out of the house a little bit stretch my legs. It was beautiful. I mean, even though it's like cloudy and lightly raining, it was just such a beautiful walk.
You know, especially when we're used to like the 20, 30 degree weather in winter. It's like,
that's true.
This is amazing. It's like 47.
I was almost sweating because it's so humid out right now. I was getting warm.
So just to say, and I can confidently speak for those who do know you. You know, the people like all of our friends like Zach and our group of D&D people and Tori and Andy and people like I can speak confidently in saying that we are so very proud of you for those changes that you're making, and just overall just look at the glow on the face right now. Like, you know, that's something that we love seeing on Spencer. So
yeah. But yeah, and like school finished, and I passed all my classes, which was nice, and get a couple weeks break before I start summer classes, which is awesome, and you know, things are just good.
I remember back in the day when summer school was a bad thing.
Well, you know, I mean,
it helps you get done faster.
It's not ideal, but also it means that I don't have to spend 2.5 years there. It means maybe I spend 1.5 years.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding because, like, you know, back in my day when you had to go to summer schools because you was a bad kid.
It's true. It's true. A little different when you're electing to do it.
That's true, yeah. See, when you're making it a choice, it's different. But and actually, that's the funny thing about it is actually when I was in high school, there were a couple of kids because they wanted to graduate high school early and get straight on to college that actually would elect to take summer school classes.
Interesting. I'm not sure we had that option.
I mean, this is
Hale, but
I mean, this is also, you know.
Well, yeah.
Big
different
age
place
difference,
and
right? Yeah, different place and time. Exactly. Like, you know, like I talked about when I was growing up, we had what was called Kaleidoscope. You know, when I was growing up, which was for the gifted kids, right? Like, they eliminated a lot of those programs by the time your generation came around because.
Well, they called them different. I was in the gifted and talented program when I was in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah, but I mean, so but to what extent did they, like, how different was it from like the other classes? Because like for ours, for example, like we would get picked up by a bus because there was only like a limited number per school, and we would all get taken to another campus.
Mm. It wasn't quite that.
So one day a week, we would all get taken to a different campus and be taught like advanced things, above our grade level, and then it was almost like having a field trip once a week.
Gotcha.
So it became expensive because they were doing stuff like that, So
yeah, it wasn't quite that, but I mean, we were pulled out of class probably once or twice a week, and we did our own thing together.
Yeah. So they were taking, like I said, like groups of people from every school, and like we would have like a 20-person, a regular size class, because we only would have like. I don't know if it was stricter, requirements or what, but like they literally, like in my grade level, for and I was in it all the way through middle school. You would only have 4 or 5 people in one given school, that were qualified for that
Gotcha.
particular thing. It was based off of like IQ and tests and things like that. And
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, that's our warm up, and. What are we doing for campaign today, Tyler?
Man, so the campaign today, we usually talk about meat and potatoes, right? And one of the things about every, meal that sometimes you got to get to is sometimes it's time to eat leftovers, right?
True.
So today's kind of the leftovers episode. What we want to do today is, since we've taken that break and we haven't been back in a while, is we want to talk about kind of a recap. We've had some episodes under our belt. We're not going to get into like huge detail. I mean, we talk a little bit more about certain topics than we would others, I'm sure. But if we talked a lot about each one, we'd be here for like 5 hours, and we don't want to do that.
It's true.
But we want to just kind of recap some of the episodes that we did. So we're gonna heat up some leftovers today.
Yep. I like leftovers personally. It's just eating it again.
And sometimes it's better the next day. Like honestly,
it's true.
Some stuff because it sits there and the spices get more into the food, and stuff, and then you reheat it, and it's like, oh man, especially if you reheat it the right way. But,
that is important.
Yeah.
Never try to reheat your onion rings in the microwave, but put them in the oven. They're sometimes better than the day you got them.
Or an air fryer.
Yeah, if you have an air fryer.
If you have an air fryer, like that's things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's like my next big purchase for my kitchen.
Oh yeah.
I want an air fryer so bad, and when we, so kind of off topic, sorry. When we were registering for our wedding, prior, this was a couple years ago, and this was before the air fryer fad. This is like right when it started or whatever, but I wasn't aware of it, right? And I saw these air fryers, and I was like, where the hell do you put the oil? I was like, this thing doesn't make sense. Why would I want one of these? Why would I want to close it up with the oil and it's going to like explode? And so, yeah, I had a chance to register for an air fryer, but for my wedding registry, and I didn't, and that's one of my regrets right now. I was like, I wish I would have not thought it was a joke and actually gotten one, because they're awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Good.
But yeah, so
well, while we're on the topic, I guess we can talk about our food episode.
Yeah, so let's recap on our food episode, man. We've had some things since then that we can talk about. I think when we originally did our food episode, it was mainly because we had just done your birthday, and we were talking about like all that, that risotto that was there.
Tofty's table, man.
Tofty's
table's so good. My dad was actually just there with some friends. He graduated from Carroll University, and there was a big ceremony, and one of his friends from college, fraternity brothers. One of his fraternity brothers actually got a distinguished alumni. I'm pretty close with him. His name's Rob Lamper, and he worked on the Hubble Space Telescope and shit like that. Yeah. He's goddamn software engineer that's did work at NASA and shit.
It's crazy how small the world is in that sense, though, too, right? It's like,
yeah,
you
right.
think about something that's out there in space and doing that kind of thing, and you're like,
yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, he got an award for it, and he everyone that was at not everyone at the ceremony, but a bunch of people and my dad went out to Tofty's table, and they had a good time. And man, I just wish
tell me to bring me back some risotto, man. Hey, I'll slip you a couple bucks, man.
I wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I would have. I wish I went. That would have been awesome.
That would have been sweet.
But yeah, no. Food, man, it's just so good. And when we talked about food the last time, we pretty much just talked about all of the food that we've ever had that we really like. And it's great.
I'm going to bring up a couple things that have happened since that food episode that I want to talk about. So, A restaurant that's actually been a favorite of mine for a while because we had one down in Chattanooga. I did not even know they had one up here, but I learned that they did when we went to MGC, and he actually went there with Max. Is Tupelo Honey.
Yep.
So if you've never been to Tupelo Honey, the place is amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever eaten anything there that I could would consider bad. Like their food's amazing.
I've been there twice now, and I can say the same thing.
Yeah, Tupelo Honey, great thing. There's that restaurant that Andy was trying to tell us about with the donut things that we had yesterday. It's Honey something, and I don't remember what it's called, but but we've learned if Honey is in the name of a restaurant, you should probably check it out. Just,
sure.
But the one I really want to talk about, and because it has to do with actually a couple close personal friends of mine, my friends Joe Michelle and Bill Lacey, they run a diner down in Greendale called Milk Can Diner. And so I was recently able to finally get down there, and we'll talk more about this thing, which is my cousin Nick, who you guys remember the Star Wars, if any of you guys remember the Star Wars episode from Nick and Mello's Hyperspace. He's the first family, like blood family, that has actually come up to visit me. It was so awesome. I appreciated it so much.
It was fantastic to meet him.
And his wife, Haley, and him both came up here. And then Carmelo from the podcast came up from Chicago, and we all went to lunch at Milk Can Diner. Dude, that place is fire. I'm talking about everything there is absolutely delicious. And here's the thing, because I had been having a conversation with my buddy Joe. So, for example, I got a shrimp po' boy, and it has a remoulade on it. And I was like, the only complaint I have about it is, like, it was so good, I wanted more on the sandwich. And he goes, actually, we lowered the amount of sauce on it because of the feedback from our customers. They take feedback constantly from their customers and adjust their menu constantly based on, so like we were talking about that and a couple of other dishes where he was like, well, this used to be like this, and we changed it to this because of, the people around there. And I was like, dude, I mean, how many places they'll do that? Most places are just like, this is it, this is our recipes, this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it. If you want less sauce, scrape it off, that kind of thing, right? No, they took the feedback from their customers, and like we specifically put that amount of sauce on there because the majority of our customers wanted less sauce, because they're trying to make it like a 50s style diner. And a lot of people down in Greendale are like the older, more affluent community, right? And so that's the people that were giving him this feedback. And they wanted it to be that more authentic, like real 50s style diner, so they did that.
That's really cool.
And dude, it was awesome. And then if you go there, I'm warning everybody. Okay, there were 4 of us, so I looked at their dessert menu, and they had cookies. So I was like, we want 4 peanut butter cookies for dessert. You do not want 4 peanut butter cookies.
Are they big cookies?
You want 1 cookie for 4 people. It comes out on a tray this big. The cookie is literally like this huge. We had to get all the other ones to go because we were all full anyway from the food we'd eaten. And
you all wanted to finish it off with a little cookie.
Yeah, we all wanted something sweet for everybody at the end, right? No 4 cookies. 1 cookie. You need 1 cookie for 4 people. I promise you. Maybe 2 if whatever. But like, dude, it was amazing. So Milk Can Diner, down in Greendale.
We gotta go soon.
Yeah, so it's right below Greenfield, like right past Southbridge Mall and all that, and then it's awesome, and it's in this awesome little strip. So it's in this little strip mall like type place too, but it's like it's weird because I've never, the only time I've ever been to Greendale is like I think the license office is down there, so I had to go get my tags or like renew my license at one point. That's the only time I've ever been down there, so I don't know much about that area. Dude, it's like going back into like the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Yeah, historic downtown Greendale is a really charming place.
That strip was amazing. Like it felt like so a show that I used to watch, which is not based in that time period, but like it has a lot of connections to it because of the time in the city, is Gilmore Girls. I don't know if you ever watched Gilmore Girls, but it's based in clips and stuff. It's based in a town in Connecticut, and it's a more affluent community as well, right? And they have a diner there called Luke's Diner. So Luke's one of the main characters of the show, and then even Lorelai, who is the main character in the show, her and her daughter Rory, Lorelai runs an inn, an older style inn that's called like the Dragonfly Inn. So like it's all like that older type of feel. And that's dude when I pulled in the parking lot, I was like, dude, I felt like I traveled back in time like 40 years, dude. It was crazy. I'll say 40. At this point, like 60,
70.
yeah, like 60 or 70 years, right? Like it was amazing to and so they had like there was a sports collectible shop right next door, and so I got to talk to that guy. His name's Jeff Price, Price Collectibles. He's awesome. He deals mainly in sports cards and stuff, but he does some Pokemon and things like that. Got to talk to him. There was this little place next door called The Nest that sold a lot of bird stuff, like bird houses and bird feeds and all these feeders and stuff. And my cousins bought stuff from there. So like, dude, yeah, it was awesome. So that's a little off topic from the food stuff, but yeah.
Definitely. If you ever have a chance to go down there, I recommend it because the first time my experience in historic downtown Greendale was one of my friends lived just outside of that little area, and we went down there around Christmas time because there was like a Christmas festival happening, and all the shops were open even though it was like 7 p.m. and there were like carolers around, and it was all like lit up Christmassy. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
And they do events like that, for various times of the year. So definitely check it out if you ever have a chance. And I also have to say before we move on that I used to not like biscuits. However, Tupelo honey has changed my life.
I got you on that, didn't I?
Biscuits are the shit.
It's because you had a real biscuit.
It's because I had a real biscuit.
A real biscuit.
The real biscuits up here are not real biscuits because they aren't. They're fine. Like they're okay. But like, man, I've considered ordering like 7 orders of those biscuits for pickup and just going down there to pick up biscuits.
So this is something I don't know if I remember telling you the other day when we were talking about it or whatever. So for those of us from the South, anybody who watches this is like my friends from the South. What he finally had was what we call in the South a cat head biscuit. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we call them cat head biscuits because they're about the size of a cat head. They're not like shaped in a ring and things like that. You just take the dough, you put it on the thing, and that it's called a cat head biscuit. That's what you had.
Yep.
And cat head
biscuits.
That's
what it calls it on the menu.
It's a cat head biscuit, man. That's what it is. And so, yeah, cat head biscuits. I did not know that was called that on the menu. That's awesome.
Well, they call it Biscuits for a Cause because all of the proceeds go to like a foundation that they have for their employees. But in the description of it, they call them cat head
biscuit. Yeah, biscuits. It's cat head biscuit, man.
But yeah, food is good. Food's
awesome. So the next thing I would like to talk about is going back, and we were gonna go in chronological order of our stuff, but I don't really we can't really do that. So I just brought up Nick, so let's talk briefly about the Star Wars stuff. We're gonna have a second episode coming up soon, so we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but we're gonna have a second episode coming up soon. And have Nick and Mello on again. The thing that'll be a little bit different is the way that we're going to record it. We'll actually have all 4 of us in like a Brady Bunch looking, squares, with 4 squares. So you'll get to see all 4 of us in that episode. So that's going to be awesome. Really excited. Like I said, Nick came up last week, visited with us, visited my family. Got to meet Mello in person as well. As charming and wonderful as Carmelo seems through the computer, 10 times more in person.
I didn't even get to meet Mello, unfortunately, because I was so busy with school stuff. I wasn't able to meet Nick. I met Nick, but I wasn't able to go out to lunch with you guys and stuff. But I'm after our podcast together, I friended both Nick and Mello.
Yeah, we've had some conversations
on Facebook. Yeah, and I've talked to Mello a couple times about various things and, just interacting with him on social media and stuff. And he is just a lovely, charming gentleman. I love him to death.
I'm a little mad at him right now, though. So when you see this, Mello, hopefully you will, you still owe me that phone call. So here's what happened is we had the lunch. Mello had to leave because he had to get back to, do some stuff. We went to that collectibles place next door. I found a really cool Star Wars bobblehead for my cousin, and then there was a Darth Vader awesome print, right? It was framed up and everything, right? And I thought it was going to be super expensive, but I asked the guy, I was like, how much was it? And it ended up being a very reasonable price. So I bought it for Carmelo and made Nick, take it to him in Chicago. I said the only caveat to this is tell him when he gets it, he owes me a phone call, and stuff. I still haven't got my phone call, Mello.
That could be Nick's fault.
No, he told him. We talked about it.
Just saying.
I already asked him because I was like, hey, why didn't he call me? He said, I told him. It's on him. So, Mello, where's my phone call? Anyway, so that's kind of our Star Wars stuff. Like I said, we'll have a second episode on it. So
yeah, and as always, we love Star Wars stuff. Star Wars stuff is always fantastic.
So on that too, I kind of want to do in this little section just kind of the things that we're looking at doing second episodes on. So I don't want to go too deep into, and maybe give a little bit more attention to the other things. So Magic, we've had Magic podcasts before. We're going to have more. One of the next ones I want to do is actually with a group of our gamers at the store. It's our CDH group. I want to have one on CDH, and they have a podcast too called Sad Naz. So there's a card in CDH called Ad Nauseum, if you've never heard of the card. Their podcast is called Sad Naz Gaming, or just Sad Naz. If you look up Sad Naz, you can find them. Great guys, great podcast. Check them out for sure. And like I said, we'll have at least one of the members on really soon to talk about Magic and CDH there.
Yep.
We will probably keep talking about the local game store stuff. We will probably do a retouch on the local game stores. I want to do that kind of around my 1 year anniversary for the store.
Yeah.
And just kind of give a, hey, what's changed between then and now. So,
and also maybe shout out some of our other friendly stores.
Yeah, and possibly even have someone like Mo from Mobetta or something like that on there. So we're gonna have another one on local game stores at some point. The tabletops and RPGs, we will probably also have another one on at some point, just because we have so many friends in our groups and stuff that we'll definitely retouch, rehash that one.
Mm-hmm. And I know I definitely want to talk about video games again, because if there are three hobbies of mine, it is video games, tabletop RPGs, and Magic the Gathering. Those are the three things.
Yeah. So those three things you will definitely hear things on. So so the video games, the tabletops and stuff, we'll definitely rehash pretty soon. So things that we may or may not go over again. Well, a couple of these we will. It's in some varying degrees, and they may be tied into other things. But so the one I want to talk about first is the comedy episode we have. Comedy is universal, as we talked about in that episode. It was amazing. I've even since then found even more stand-up comedians that I'm loving. Bert Kreischer, for example, he shares another hobby with me, which is disc golf. I'm a huge disc golfer, and he was recently, or at least at some point recently, on the Joe Rogan Experience, and was talking about disc golf, which I love. So for the people, friends of mine who are in the disc golf community and know, it's a huge sport to those of us who play it and know it, but it's still not nationally known that well. We have gotten some good things happen with ESPN has had some stuff on and things like that, but it's still way below even horse racing on the totem pole right now, right? But Kreischer's him giving that kind of exposure, even though I'm not necessarily personally a Joe Rogan fan, it's whatever, if you are, you are. That's neither here nor there. But the point is he's heard by enough people that at least getting that exposure is pretty cool. Listening to him, listening to some other people, so comedy is one of those things too where we probably won't have another episode on it anytime soon. We might at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing this for 20 years, we'll probably talk about it a couple more times.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's things for example, we have local comedians we talked about in the episode, Charlie Barron's. If he comes back to Milwaukee, I would love for us to be able to go. And then maybe if we go see that, then, we come back and we talk about, that experience for sure.
It would be really cool if we could get him on, just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. One that we actually will, there's two more on the list. Actually, all of these things on the list that we're going to talk about, we will do at some point. Mm-hmm. It's just...
We've done them somewhat recently, and we don't have as much to say about them as we do some of the other things that we would do more often.
Is they all tie in together with things, right? So, for example, the mental health episode. That was an impromptu thing, as you know, for those who watched it. I was going through a lot of stuff at the time. Spencer has also, been going through stuff at times, and but Spencer was there for me and we literally impromptu recorded that episode that night because it was fresh on our minds, it was fresh in our hearts, and we wanted to talk about it then. We want to have one in the future, and I would even possibly have like one of my friends who's in the mental health industry, come on and talk about some things and give their expert, advice, or even like, we want to have things like more resources and stuff pulled up and ready for you guys too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the mental health episode again was an impromptu thing, and we want to have something that's more prepared and ready for it. Luckily for both of us, we've had some positive, a lot of positive changes in life, and that's that's the ebb and flow in life. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. That just happens. But right now we're riding that high. We're doing good, so we're enjoying it.
Yep, and I also want to say, because in relation to that, we primarily want to be like a variety podcast about like nerdy stuff, but also like we just want to. Like even more importantly than that, we just want to talk about the stuff that's important to us, and just giving people the help and the resources that they need, or just even if it's just us shouting into the void our
yeah, I mean that's the thing is
own problems, if that's what it comes down to, that's what we might do. But
we love all the people who have followed and liked the page and watched our videos. We're very appreciative, and people who comment too. We really appreciate that. But we realize at the end of the day, we're not some hugely popular podcast that all these people out there are listening to. I mean, if we get to that point at some point, that's awesome. If we do it, we're not doing it for the fame or the money. We don't care. We're going to keep talking about the things we want to talk about with that, because the philosophy overall when we got together to start this was being helpful to the community. Providing something, whether it even just be entertainment for a little while, just to get your mind off things, or actually to be things that where we actually help. Maybe it's the mental health episode, maybe it's the nerd episode to let you know it's okay to enjoy those things that you like. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the music episode, like we're going to talk about here in a minute, where we introduce you to that one piece of music that just changes your life. And that's something I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to segue into that. Is music's actually been helping me a whole lot with my mental health lately. That's really one of the big things. Is I realized,
me too.
I got away from it. I used to sing, and I used to love singing, and I got away from it. And now that I've gotten back into it, so last Friday night, so my buddy DJ Waluigi, aka Evan Machensky, does karaoke at Friday nights out at Binary, the gaming bar we've talked about. It's on between 91st and 92nd in Lincoln.
It's right next to the West Dallas Memorial Hospital, if you know where that is.
Yeah. So he does karaoke on Friday nights out there. And I wanted to go out last week just to, surprise him and, like, support him, things like that. And I think I surprised him even more because he didn't know I could sing. So that was really fun. But, yeah, it was really fun because, like, I was telling, Spencer earlier, it was like the very first song I got up and sang, I think I sang Time by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah.
Okay? And, when a lot of people are singing at karaoke, and it's just the nature of karaoke, right? Most people, when they're singing at karaoke, everyone's having their own conversations and stuff. They might listen a little bit to the person singing. I looked up at one point, like halfway through the song, and everyone's just looking at me, and I'm like, oh, like, oh, you guys are actually paying attention to me singing. Like, this isn't just me singing, to myself right now. And I had a good reaction. Thank you for anybody out there that happens to see this podcast, and you guys, cheered for me, stuff like that. It was awesome. But then, like, there was this awesome group of guys, and I wish I would have met, got their names and stuff, and maybe I might have introduced myself to one of the people at one point, but there was this group of guys that didn't care. Only one of them was really, like, into it singing, and the other three were just kind of trying to help and stuff. But they were singing, I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, the Tell Me Why, that song. So they're singing it, dude, and they're getting into it. They're having fun, and their girlfriends are cheering and things like that. Dude, I ran up there and, like, lifted my shirt and flashed them. I was like, like, and they loved it, and everybody laughed and had, I just had a blast with, stuff like that, man, and it was awesome. So, yeah, I'm getting back into music, man. I'm getting back into singing, and trying to get my voice back and things. So
it's good.
That has helped me a lot.
And I'm actually looking forward to going to karaoke. I've still never been, but I love singing. I sing to myself all the time.
We had this conversation before the show.
And he's going to take me out to karaoke at Binary next week. So, this is going to be coming on Monday. On Friday, after you come by us at F&M at Slypatch.
If you guys
join us for karaoke at Binary.
If you want to tag along, yeah, like I said, come support my boy, DJ Waluigi, aka Evan. Evan is a wonderful, wonderful human being, and actually, to that note, so he's my friend. He posted something on Facebook even just today because it was referring to last night about he's so happy with himself and proud of the fact that he chose to finally do that, and he's getting back to being himself, and I'm so proud of you for that, buddy. If you see this episode, I'm proud of you for that, because you were an amazing human being, and you just keep being you, man, and the world's going to be a better place for it, so, for sure.
And while we're still on the topic of music, I've got to shout out my new favorite artist, because, I'd heard her in 2 different songs before really kind of going into her discography, but she's called Rielle, Riell, and she is a singer, and I think maybe she also produces, but she does a lot of collaborations.
She probably also writes. I mean, a lot of singers are also songwriters and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm very certain she writes the lyrics, but I'm not sure how much of what she does she actually produces, because a lot of it is collaboration with other EDM type of producers.
Yeah.
And I first heard her collaboration, her 2 collaborations with Jim Yosef, who I've been a fan of for a very long time. She did Hate You with him, as well as Animal with him, and they were both very, very good. And I was listening to one of them recently, and I was like, yeah, I really like her voice. I'm going to see what else she has. And her entire discography is just incredible.
That's
she has a beautiful voice. And the reason
we'll be listening to this after the podcast, just
yes,
so y'all know.
Yes, we most certainly will.
This is what we do, too. After we get done, we talk about stuff. We end up listening to stuff that we talk about. Yeah, so.
Listen to stuff, look at funny videos, whatever.
Yeah, after the comedy episode.
After the comedy episode, we sat here for an hour or 2 sharing funny shit that we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and if you are at all a fan of the more electronic stuff, but you also are super into vocals, Rielle is great. She's done a lot of awesome collaborations. She has a collaboration with Blaster Jacks, collaboration with the Fat Rat called Hiding in the Blue, which is, I think, my favorite piece by hers. She's just fantastic.
That's awesome. I'm going to shout out a couple things on that from the music standpoint. So one's more of a funny, because it happened, and it's going to be a segue into our next topic that we talk about. And I'll do that one second. But the first one is more serious. Dax. Dax has become one of my favorite people to listen to around. If you've never, DAX, Dax. That's all you got to look up.
I've been a big fan of him for a long time.
And that's the thing. I just recently discovered him, he's usually a rapper. He's a rapper. That's his main thing. But his rapping his lyrics are about actual serious things and things that actually have meaning. He's not rapping about having a bunch of cars and money and stuff like that. He's rapping about serious issues and stuff.
Yeah, he talks about real
propaganda shit. Or Dear God,
Dear God is one of my favorites. I really like his self-proclaimed series. He has 4 of them. I don't know if you've heard those. They're motivational.
I've listened to a few. The thing is this is my problem with music. This is my problem with music too. I'll let y'all know. If I hear a song and it hits me, I will listen to it on repeat for hours. You know what I'm saying? So I only know.
You call that a problem?
I mean, I'm just saying. It is for some people. It gets annoying to some people because this is the same song you've been listening to for 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, for me it's okay. I feel like I've been listening to it for 5.
Well, I'll tell you,
which is why I love him too. Because so here's the thing. So my favorite song by him right now is Dear Alcohol.
Yep.
And he's big on TikTok with it. There's actually a Dear Alcohol challenge, and there are so many good people out there that have, he did an open verse challenge, and just his lyrics already were on point, beautiful, amazing. There are so many I can't even name. Like the Great White was on there. What is this guy's name? It's like Fix or something. I can't. It doesn't matter. He's not gonna say this anyway. But they're like, just look up the or look up the TikTok open verse challenges. They're like 18-minute long. I love it because they're like 18 minutes long, so it's the same song but for like 18 minutes, but with all these different verses.
Yeah,
bro, I will put those on repeat. Because they're so good.
I tell you what, there's one of my favorites. I don't know if you've seen this one. Another rapper that I really like to follow. His name's Knox Hill. He did that challenge too, and his verse was fucking incredible. It was really
He did it for the Dear Alcohol?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So there's this one guy, I don't even know what his fucking name is. I need to find it out, and I'm sure in one of the TikToks it actually says the name somewhere. All I remember is, I call him Orange Hoodie Guy. But there's this guy in an orange hoodie, and his verse is amazing, but he has especially like this one line where he's talking about, I'm fighting all these demons, but the spirits put them right to bed. And because the double entendre of spirits, which is alcohol, and spirits and demons, I was just like, he said that line, and I went, what? Like, did he really just like? Oh, it just hit,
Yeah.
And like, so like, and he has a beautiful voice, so that's the thing too. But anyway, so Dax is like my favorite thing right now. And then from going from the comedy thing that we talked about and into music, and this is going to be the segue into conventions. So we had the MGC recently, and I had the pleasure of on Saturday night when the after party was going on, hanging out with a lot of the cool people from Milcog. So Milcog is our Milwaukee Coalition of Gamers. They do all the board games. They have a huge board game library. It's awesome. But I got to hang out with Allison, her sister Haley, and then Garrett, her boyfriend. And Garrett came out with me and Josiah to smoke at one point, and we're talking, and we were talking about funny things. I don't remember how it came up, but he was like, "Bro, you gotta listen to this song." And it's by a guy named Trey Lewis. It's called Dicked Down in Dallas. Dicked, down in Dallas. And the song is about like this woman that constantly cheats on him, but she's so good and bad or something that he's like praying for her to come back. It's hilarious. Like, Spencer heard the song.
It's very, very good.
I was in tears. I was in tears laughing at this song, at the lyrics, because it sounds like a country like
it sounds like your typical like country pandering song.
Exactly, yes.
But it's all about
it's all about this chick that
dick down in Dallas, railed out in Raleigh,
tag teamed up in Tennessee. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's
so funny.
It's crazy.
It's so fucking funny.
It's hilarious. So yeah, if you get a chance, check that song out. It's hilarious. But yeah, so at the convention, first and foremost, thank you to anyone who watches this that came out and participated in any of our events out there.
You're welcome.
we had a tremendous turnout. It's just getting better every time. It's more people than we had back in November. We hope to have even more people next year when we have it. So our events were amazing. People there were just awesome, and it was like there were so many people that even just came and visited us that like didn't know a thing about Magic and wanted to learn, and that was great. And there were people that that have been in the Magic community for many, many years, and it's like I only came to this event just so I could come play at your event, and it was just and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so like that was fantastic. It was amazing. We appreciate that. But the great thing about the Midwest Gaming Classic, and this was my first actual experience with the big one, because I had been at the smaller one that was like the pop-up game night that we had. I missed the one in November because
the pop-up was about a year ago now. Right?
Correct. Yeah, it was in like June of last year, or something like that. And then I missed the one in November because of my father's funeral. So it was my first experience with it. And I mean, I've been to conventions. We talked about it. I've been to huge conventions like Dragon Con and things like that. Dude, it's a blast. Like, real talk, we're setting it up next year to have enough staff to where people can actually take enough time off. Like, for me, for example, it was my first time there, and I wanted so much to focus on my store and the things I was doing that I didn't even take a break on Saturday. Like, I was not done until, like, I worked from the time we opened until we closed. because I just was focused on that. I wanted to make sure I did right by it. Next year though, I want to have a break because I want to go experience. Like I got to experience some cool stuff, and like on Sunday I got to go walk around a little bit and experience some stuff, but there's so much there to experience between the vendor hall, between all the games, and things like that, and all the different rooms with all the different. Like again, you've got Milk Hog there, you've got Garcade, you've got the guys games and beer, people that do that. That guy, man, I'm sorry, dude. I see your face. I know your ponytail. I'm horrible with names. I wish I could remember it right now. That guy is so cool though. Love that guy. We shared some JMO that night because he's awesome. Can't remember his name. I'm terrible. But anyway, there's just so many great people there. Pink Bunny Games was in the vendor hall. Those are some of our local guys that are awesome. Falklandia was there doing the 40K stuff. And it was just like we all got to be there and like experience. It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. So, and then you, as someone who was a patron, like you got to actually experience 2 conventions in one that weekend.
Correct.
So
the first convention was it was a lot smaller, and it was pretty much just that Friday morning before MGC. It was kind of cool though. It was called CypherCon, and I went with a group of students and from my school and a couple of our instructors, and it was mostly a cybersecurity convention, like a conference talking.
So it was more of a conference than a convention.
Well, the reason they call it a convention is because they do have some like activities and they try to make it fun. And so it was like a conference in the realm of like there were speakers talking about cybersecurity and stuff like that, but there were also events like learn how to lockpick, learn how to safe crack. Here's like
through the computer or like hand.
No, there were safes.
Bro, I wish I could have gone to that.
And there were lockpicking kits, and people were like learning how to like crack these things.
I've never told you this. I've never been, we talked about how I'm not a big Skyrim, those type of games thing, but I actually at one point spent hours on Skyrim. The only thing I would do was go around and try to find lockpicks and then go try to pick locks. I did it for like hours at one point one day. And I was bored as shit and I was hammered one day and I was just like, I'm going to pick as many locks as I can tonight.
That's so fucking funny.
I'm not kidding.
That's so dumb.
That's all I did.
It.
Everybody else is like going around like trying to get up their masters on this. I was like, I'm going to get a 99 on lock picking like as fast as I can. It's the only thing I'm going to focus on. And I just focused on trying to pick locks and find lock picks. It's it. I'd break down ingots just to make lock picks and stuff. Like it's
so funny.
So yeah. So when you're telling me that, I'm like, oh, I want to do that in real life. Like I want to learn how to do that. Yeah, not because I want to do anything criminal. No, not anything like that.
It's like, interesting.
It is. It's really cool. It's like a puzzle because so one of my favorite magicians, his name is Chris Ramsey. And he also does a series of videos on. He's a master puzzle solver dude too.
Oh, okay.
So he does all these and he'll do everything from like a level 1, which is like the rings together or something like that, right? All the way up to like this level 10 where it's like, it's the difference between a 1/4 inch turn on this thing is whether it's actually going to unlock and stuff. To go like he does all this shit, right? And I love it. I love it because that's the thing is it's a mind puzzle, man. It's so cool. It's just and yeah. So like I love that. It would be like you here real quick. So Spencer's always got the fidgeter here, right? But like, what if this was a puzzle? Like you hear the stuff inside, right? Like how do we get inside? Well, you got to do this combination of buttons and roll these things exactly this many times and like. That's cool to me, and it's like, oh shit, I fucked up, I gotta start over, like that stuff is so cool to me. So
yeah, but yeah, no, CypherCon was cool, and that they had like a little station where you basically like built a game, and there were like soldering tools and stuff for it, like it.
Dude, I want to go. Like, I'm not even into computers, but I just want to go watch this shit now. Like, I want to go to this next time with you.
I was actually there was an artist though. For the life of me, I still have no idea why she was at CypherCon of all things, but there was an artist, and she had like these awesome like surrealism and abstract paintings, and she was actively working on a piece, and she was just in the hallway at CypherCon. I don't know why she was at CypherCon of all places.
I mean, if they're trying to be a con, and they're just finding somebody, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I'm guessing that's what it was, but I actually, because I'm like super into art, and my mom's an artist, she does paintings, and I was just kind of captured by some of her work, and I ended up sitting there and talking to her for like an hour.
I'm listening.
And
I gotta grab a prop. Hold on.
I actually bought one of her pieces, and it's really, really cool, and it's inspiring and stuff. So
speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because this is another experience at the convention. Okay, so one of my favorite, and he was a favorite artist of mine prior to actually getting to meet him. So here's the thing. So Andy, my business partner, actually met him back at the November one. His name is Charles Urbach. So he's a magic artist. He does other artwork. Charles, you'll probably never see this, but hopefully if you ever do, we had a wonderful, I mean, it was such a refreshing and wonderful conversation for like 10 to 15 minutes in the vendor hall at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I went over just to introduce myself because Andy had done it, and so we have, like, I have this signed playmat. Wait, I gotta move it this way. So down there in the corner, Charles assigned it. This was actually bought for me by Andy back in the November one, so I got this from that, and I wanted to go thank him, for signing a playmat for me and stuff like that. This is my own personal playmat Andy got for me, that's signed by Charles. We also have a few different pieces, so he did Dark Slick Shores, some other things, but Dark Slick Shores is like one of my favorites just because of, anyway.
It is really pretty.
And so we have a signed piece, in the store by him. Anyway, I had the most, just like I said, it was honestly, and this is not to take away from anybody else, but Charles, literally the best conversation I had at the con. We just sat and talked for 10, 15 minutes. He is a kind and brilliant and just wonderful soul. I could have literally sat down and talked to him for hours, and it would have been it just and and the thing about it was it wasn't like he did that just for me. I was sitting there waiting to talk to him while he was having conversations with other people, and he treated everyone the exact same way. And it's so awesome because I have met some other magic artists, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm not going to name any names. I've met some other magic, because I've been to a bunch of GPs and stuff like that over my time. So there's some magic artists out there that are assholes.
Yeah, there are.
They just, they come, I'll sign it, pay me my money, I'll sign your thing. They're just there for the money, they don't care.
Yeah.
Charles, not like that. Charles is a man of the people, and I love it. And
speaking about that, I was at Gen Con in 2019, and I met two magic artists there. There were a lot of magic artists there. It's Gen Con. But I specifically met two of them. One of them I'm not going to name because he was an asshole, and he was just he was kind of just not having a good day, and he was just kind of pissy to people, and I was thinking about buying something, but I ended up not. However, I also met Jason Engel, who shares a last name with me. He spells it wrong, though.
Spells it wrong.
But he and I, we talked for a while. I got him to sign my buddy's Rurik-Thar that he did, because he didn't do the original Rurik-Thar art. He did the Guild Kit Rurik-Thar art.
That's the one I use!
Yeah. Yeah, I met him. He's really cool. He also did Empyrean Eagle, which isn't a super great card. It's a it's a flying lord. It is good.
That card is huge in Pioneer right now.
Oh,
that card is a staple in the Spirits deck.
I really like the card just because it's it looks, the art is just awesome.
The art's really amazing on that.
And Jason Engel has a lot of other art that he's done, and I actually ended up buying a bunch of custom foil tokens of his to put in for my decks.
I have a similar experience with RK Post. So RK Post used to have, I don't know if the dog's still around, but he had a pug named Toothless Frank, and I have a signed Toothless Frank token by RK Post. Yeah.
But yeah, and it was really cool to meet him, and I'm glad you had a similar experience with Charles Urbach. I stopped by his area for a little bit, but I didn't get to talk to him much. But
He's
yeah.
awesome. He's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. And from my knowledge of just from what I know so far, like he's going to be back next year too. Like, and he's going to keep being there, and that's probably the one person I'm like going to be the most excited to come back and see, and to the point where it's like I honestly just want to see if I can take the man out to dinner, to sit down and just talk to him. And I just want to sit. I just want to sit and pick his mind, because his level of intelligence and especially even socially with people, it was just amazing to me. Like he just such a kind soul. Charles Arbach, awesome. Yeah, go out and look up. There's way you can go to Scryfall actually and type in his name, and you can look at every Magic card that he's ever done.
Yeah.
You can search it by the artist, which is awesome, and he has some amazing work. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, so talking about conventions, so much that went on at MGC that was amazing. We both had a blast. We can't wait for the next one.
Awesome.
Again, Dan was on in that one episode with us, so you've seen Dan. If you've seen that episode, if you haven't, go back and in the episodes and look. Dan is awesome. Dan's amazing. He's a great person. I actually, unfortunately, haven't got to talk to him much since the convention because his life goes crazy, and also I think he hermits up for like a month afterwards just because of like all the stuff he has to go through and deal with, within the year, leading up. So, but hopefully I'll talk to him soon. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of the only thing that we didn't mention was the nerd episode, or reclaiming what the word nerd meant and things like that. Here's the thing: is like we talked about in that episode. Is nerding out, geeking out, however you want to look at it, is just whatever you're passionate about, whatever you love, that kind of thing. So, just love what you love, be you, enjoy it, and as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, it don't matter. That's how I look at it. As long as whatever you're doing don't hurt nobody, enjoy it.
Love it and be you.
And be you, exactly. So that's gonna be that's the looks like we finished our leftovers. Like
we finished the leftovers.
Man, that means we got to make more for the next time we do a leftovers episode. So coming up, guys, we're gonna have a bunch of episodes, with some other stuff. Always looking for your suggestions, so please put that in the comments for us. We got a list of some things that we think we want to talk about for you, but we
always happy to add to it.
Absolutely, and it's something where we might see that on the list and be like, what, let's just move that to the front of the line and let's do it. So put your comments out there, let's hear it. But, getting done with that. So one of the things, and I made this comment before we got started, we call things like the warm-up and things like that. And so we had our appetizers with the warm-up, That's how you warm up for a meal, right? You have your appetizer. Then we have our campaign, which is our meat and potatoes. Well, this is our main that we talked about. And, I'm going to refer to it as our just desserts. You know what I'm saying? So
Does that make the ability cooldown? Does that make that the nightcap?
Oh yeah. That's the nightcap. That's you finish it off. Cleanse the palate with that, right?
Yeah,
but this is the dessert, and the reason I'm calling it that too, besides just the thing I was talking about, is every time we talk about something in this, it's pretty fucking sweet.
It is pretty sweet.
So
pretty sweet.
I'm punny. I can't help it. So let's talk about let's go with your. I went first on the warm ups, so let's go with your main first.
Well, my main is that there's been a game that I've wanted to play for a long time, and I had it in my library and even installed for a long time, but I was planning on playing it on stream because I was, at the time that I first bought it, I was like, I'm going to play this on stream and record it, and it's going to be great, and then I stopped doing that, and then I'm like, I kept looking at it in my library, and I'm like, but what if I go back to streaming?
Then you'll just be good at it.
But I decided, instead of waiting, I'm just going to play it. Because I don't think I'm ever going back to streaming. And if I do, it'll be... It was already old by the time...
Well,
so,
that, and I haven't talked to you about this yet, so you guys are going to hear this as, Spencer's hearing it for the first time. One of the things I've thought about adding to our catalog is me and you streaming things together. So, one of us playing the game and the other person, being, commenting. Like, it gives us a chance to talk to each other while we're doing it too, but also like just commenting and commentating on the game during the streaming. I think
that would be fun.
Some of my favorite streams I've ever watched have been kind of like that, where it's like someone's playing the game and the other person's just commentating on it. And I think that's amazing. So, it gives an outside perspective, and then like stuff like, oh, why did you go there? No, don't do that. Like stuff like that. Like that would be fun. So, not guaranteeing anything because I just talked to him about it. So, we'll see. But
I'd love to try it.
Yeah. So there's something that is possibly in the cards soon for you guys. Is actually having some streaming. So.
But anyways, this game, I knew it was good because I have a good friend named John McCammond. I went to school with him. And he's got a very good taste in games as far as I'm concerned. And this is like his favorite game of all time.
You're killing me. What is this game?
I'm building suspense. I'm building suspense,
You're building
Tyler.
impatience.
Good. I played Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, wow, okay.
And let me tell you, I knew it was going to be good. It far exceeded my expectations on literally every level that I could measure it on. The art style is incredible. The soundtrack is incredible. The storytelling is so much better than I expected. Like, it is riveting. There were, like, how when you play a game with, like, good storytelling, but it's like you could see things ahead of time because, it was using tropes or whatever. There were genuine fucking plot twists that I did not see coming. There were some things that, like, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it, even though it's, like, 5 years old, but, like, there was one part of it where it's, like, I had so many ideas of, like, ways that I was anticipating it to work out, but I just didn't know for sure, right?
And that's to me, that's a great game for those types of games. For me personally, again, I don't play those games that often. Okay, but the reason why, and you brought up a very good point, is because of tropes. The reason why I don't play a lot of those games is because it's like I know what's going to happen. I know the road I'm going to go down. Different kind of things like that. Like for example, one of the games I loved back in the day. That was kind of one of those first, to kind of do it was like, it was the second Fable or the first one, but it was Fable, and it lets you go down the evil or good path, and then based off that, things would happen differently, and then even if you were going down one of those paths, if you chose the other direction, like things would happen differently than you would expect. I loved that about that game. I played the shit out of that game. I played the shit out of both Fable 1 and 2, so that's why I can't remember which one was the first to do it. But I played the shit out of both of those. But then, like I said, you get to things like Skyrim and stuff like that. It's like, Skyrim is just, like, as awesome as the game is from all kinds of other design standpoints and stuff like that, for me, it was boring as shit. Because it's just like...
It does have a very straightroughard story.
Exactly. It's just...
I will admit that.
I need something like what you're talking about. So now, I've never played this. And I've heard about I've heard about the game.
It is, and I will reiterate in that the storytelling is just so good. And the interesting thing about it is that, a lot of role-playing games very much these days lean into the multiple paths, right? And the choices that you have to make. This wasn't, like, there was a direct path that you could go. Like, there were choices to, like, kind of shape a little bit how the main character, like, responded to things, but the story was ultimately going to be the same every time, which is really interesting. But and yet it was still vibrant, colorful, and shocking. And
I can deal with that. I could fuck with something like that. Like I could. That is something that I'd be like, all right, none of my buddies are on. I'm looking to play a game right now. I'm looking to waste some time. Or whatever, like, I could get behind something like that.
Yeah. And even further, the gameplay is so good. Like, it made me... I was playing on a medium difficulty. Even then, like, I had to think and plan and strategize, and even when I did those things, it didn't always work, but I always found a way, and it was satisfying every time.
Yeah. And it was... See, that's one of the things I like about games like that, too, is something that challenges my mind. Because that's the thing. Is, like, again, even story, like the Skyrim, right? Okay, so, like, when you talk about, like, different difficulties and stuff, the only difference in the difficulty is just, like, if you get hit, you're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a challenge to me. So it was just like,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That's why so many people on Skyrim, for example, were archers. It's like, oh, just sit back and shoot my arrows. You know? And you can play it on the hardest difficulty and win because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't like I want something that is like, okay, well, I gotta be smart. I gotta outsmart what they're trying to do. Again, going back to the thing like I was talking about Christmas, I love puzzles. I want to figure it out. I don't want it to be something that I've already figured out before.
I'll tell you, you would love this game
Yeah.
then, because there's it's really good.
Yeah, give me a puzzle, you know?
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. I still have content to go through because there's tons of side quests and stuff that I haven't done, and there's
Right.
the DLC that I haven't gone into yet, which is looks really cool. And the world building is incredible too. Like there's reasons for everything in that game to be the way it is.
What was the game that was like the precursor to that game though? There was a precursor to that game, wasn't there?
You're thinking about the sequel, which I was just about to talk about. The sequel is Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay, so
that one just came out.
So Zero Dawn was the first one. Okay.
Zero Dawn was the first one.
I was going to say, because I've heard, like, I knew about
Horizon,
both of them. Okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn was the first one.
Okay, so
I just played that.
So I got them backwards in my head.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Forbidden West is brand new, and I'm sad because it's not on PC. It's only on PlayStation, so I can't play it.
That's shitty.
Until they port it. And it took them 5 years to port to PC. So
That's shitty.
I don't know when I'm getting it, but I am really excited to get it. But until then, I suppose I will just have to replay it.
That's what she said, by the way.
It's true.
She's really excited to get it.
Yeah, I am
anyway,
really excited.
Sorry, I mumbled that. Anyway. All right, well then, I'm going to talk about my main this week. And in my main, I'm actually going to talk about my wonderful, amazing, beyond my deserving nature wife.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
She's amazing. So my wife got me into this TV show. It's on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, it's called Our Flag Means Death, and of course, it's a pirate show. Right? So, which I didn't know that at first, but yeah. So anyway, it's a pirate show. It's actually a I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it's actually like a rom-com. But it's so strange. So I have it pulled up here so I can remember the IMDb stuff. So the main stars of the show are Rhys Darby. So Rhys Darby has been in a bunch of things, but most recently, like what you would know him from, is the remakes of Jumanji. He's the main NPC, the guy that
I haven't actually seen the remakes, so
he's the main NPC, Rhys Darby. He's awesome. He plays Steve Bonnet. So the great thing about this too is there's actual some historical realness to it. Okay, so he is known as the Gentleman Pirate, and then of course it has Blackbeard in the show, his name was Edward. I don't remember his last name. His actual name was Edward something. But anyway, that is played by Taika Waititi. Okay, so for those who don't know Taika Waititi is huge. He has been in so many things recently. He's also a director, things like that, and he also helped write and produce this show. But he plays Blackbeard. There's an actor. Their name is Vico Ortiz, who plays Jim, which is my wife's favorite character. My wife follows them on Instagram and TikTok and all this other stuff. You've got like Ewan Bremer, who most people, best way I can describe Ewan Bremer, you've seen him and stuff, and everything you've seen him in, you thought it was Simon Pegg, but it wasn't. It was Ewan Bremer. Like here, look, I'll show you a picture. Like you think it's Simon Pegg, but it's not. Okay. And then there's a bunch of other great actors, and stuff in here. Anyway, so it's a rom-com. But it's pirates and stuff like that. So here's the thing: is my wife, and this is one of the big reasons I want to talk about it too. So in one of the episodes, they talk about scurvy, because that was a thing for pirates back in the day, and they had to go on a mission to find oranges. Okay,
That's funny.
because they ran out of oranges. And the reason why is like, so Steed again is the gentleman pirate. He comes from this high society, and he wanted an orange cake. It took like 65 oranges to make this one cake, right? And the guy's like, I used all the oranges to make the cake, and he's like, what? You used all the oranges for the cake? Like, we need these, to fight off the scurvy, right? And it's funny because like one of the pirates, the reason they found out, like he's like, guys, I think something's wrong. He's like, is anybody else's fingernails just falling out? Like, he's like, ends up pulling a tooth out. He's like, and he actually kept the tooth because he thought that once he had the oranges, he'd be able to put it back. And there's like a line that like tooths don't go back or something like that in the show. Anyway, so she went and bought this material, this pattern that has actual oranges on it, and then she's also been doing this painting. So she does. My wife is so artistic and wonderful. So I'm going to hold up to the camera a little bit so you can see some things. Like, there is a nail on here that has, like, actual oranges on it. And then you have, like, some of the flag designs that they did.
Like the X marks the spot there.
Yeah, for the treasure. There's there's an episode with the seagull over here. The lighthouse. This down here is Steed's, his little thing that he wears. And then, like, the purple's, like, for the Kraken and stuff. Like, dude, she's making these, and she's making herself an outfit. It's awesome. It's wonderful. But if you haven't seen the show, it's absolutely hilarious. I will tell you, just from my personal, it's one of those shows that we call a slow burn. Okay? First 2 episodes is completely about trying to character build, so, it's a slow burn. The first 2 episodes, you're going to be like, this show, get to episode 3. And then you get to episode 3 and you watch it. They've only done season 1 so far. Season 2 is supposed to be starting. It's supposed to come out like in like September or October this year, which we're super excited for, but it's not out yet. You get through season or 2. You get through episode 3 and watch the whole rest of the show, and you're just like, I need more. Like, this show is awesome. Like, to the point where, literally, after Spencer leaves tonight, my wife and I are going to start rewatching it again. Like, we're going to go back to episode 1. We're going to rewatch it. And stuff. It's so good. So Our Flag Means Death is the name of the show. There's some things like where they get tangled up with like the British Navy, back in the day, and then the French Navy and all this other stuff. Like it's I think the Spaniards even get involved at some point. But yeah, it's all about. But it's about piracy and stuff. So. And it's funny because like they are literally the worst pirates ever. Like this guy, he's known as the general pirate. He is literally like the worst pirate ever. Like he's terrible as a pirate. For what you think of as a pirate.
You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
So like again, I don't want to ruin things for people.
But you have heard of me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like yeah. So I swear part of that character must have been based off that. But so the thing about it, and I don't want to ruin it. Like I said, I don't want to ruin anything for people. But like. He's a gentleman. He comes from high society. He's from a rich family. All this, right? He doesn't want to kill anybody. Mm-hmm. So, like, again, I don't want to ruin anything. But their first act of piracy was they came across this little fishing boat with these 2 guys on it. Okay, and there's nothing of real value on there. And he boards the boat and he finds this plant in a pot and steals the plant from them. But, like, later in the show, that's relevant. Because it was an actual act of piracy, because they stole the plant. But he steals the plant, and he just takes it to his little, like, cabin, and he's, like, taking care of this plant the rest of the show and stuff. But, like, their first, because all these guys are, like, on as pirates,
you got to see this.
And the thing about it, too, is, like, because the deal for most pirates back in that day was the captain got a certain percentage, and then all the other pirates would get a percentage of whatever they looted from people, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he was rich, so he was just paying them a salary. So these guys were getting paid anyway. It didn't matter. They could just be on the boat going around in circles.
Oh, that's so funny.
It didn't matter, right? But at the same time,
he wanted to be a pirate.
And the people on there wanted to be pirates too, but they were terrible pirates anyway, so nobody else would pick them up for their crew. So they were terrible pirates, but they wanted to be, and they wanted like go, loot and plunder and all this, and yeah. Instead, like at one point, like and this is again, not trying to spoil things, but like he has them sitting. They were like, "We need a flag," and so he's like, "Okay." He's like, the person that comes up with the flag. So they're all sitting in like a group circle sewing these flags. And they're like, what the fuck are we doing? You know? Like, why are we sewing right now? Like,
oh, that's so funny.
It was great.
I gotta see this.
It was hilarious. Yeah, it's a great show. But, yeah. It's the kind of pirates that we are at Slypatch. We're terrible actual pirates. We just call ourselves pirates.
Well, I think that concludes this week's mains and our just desserts, and I think we're getting into our nightcap, our ability cooldown.
Yeah, I got the nightcap. I'm not gonna put it on camera, but I got the nightcap over here.
It is wonderful to be back, Tyler, and sorry for the delay. I know there are people. I'm sure there are people, at least, that were missing the content a little bit.
There's people out there who be like, what happened to Tyler and Spencer? Did they get in a fight? No. We love each other.
We will never break up. We're besties for resties.
Stuck with me.
Yeah, it's true. I'm kidnapped.
We might end up being conjoined twins at one point. It'd make the camera angles so much easier. But pooping would be hard.
Pooping would be a little difficult. We're pretty big. We'll have to get an extra-sized toilet.
That's our $1 million idea. We could just design a toilet big enough for two fat people to sit next to each other.
Why do you think that's $1 million idea?
Why not? Because there's someone who sold a pet rock back in the 90s and made millions of dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. People are stupid. And
People are
buy
stupid.
Anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fair enough. We love you.
The couple's toilet.
The couple's toilet. Deal. Well,
dude, actually, I wouldn't mind. I only have one bathroom here.
We're gonna have to cut this out. We can't let our secrets get on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Someone's gonna steal our patent from us.
I just want 10%. Just give me 10%.
Pay us royalties if you make it happen before we do, and we're all good.
Yeah, for sure. But also at the same time, we have a timestamp on this, so they steal our idea. We have proof that it was our idea.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't. That's not how it works.
I'll make it work. I'm a pirate. I'll come steal that shit.
Steal the patents! Steal the copyright.
Everybody, we love you.
We love you. Stay safe. Stay happy. Stay healthy. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.